Story 1. I saw this posted in another thread similar to this but can't find the comment or commenter, so I'm paraphrasing here. A guy in the Florida area took a settlement or inheritance in the low six figures, bought several damaged Lamborghinis, Ferraris, etc., made them look brand new but did not actually do anything to get their moving parts working. He rents those supercars to celebrities and influencers for thousands of dollars for a 6-hour time frame, drops the cars off where the customer wants them. Also, the customer can take pictures with the cars as if they own them. Once the time limit is up, the cars are whisked away to another photo shoot. Story 2. Donating plasma. The name is a misnomer. Places like BioLife will pay you for it. Can hurt. If you are squeamish, it may not be for you. You have to drink a lot of water and avoid certain foods 24 hours before. If that is okay with you though, 8 hours a month, 2 1-hour sessions per week for $500, at least in my area, and you get to help people like those on dialysis, it is a win-win situation. I bought my first car when I was in college with that money, and my uncle's spouse is on dialysis, so it was really cool to talk to her about it and know that I am helping people like her out. Story 3. Every time I harvest my crops, I put the silver, gold, and iridium quality ones in the bin, but I save the regular quality ones to turn into seeds so that I don't have to buy them next year. This saves a significant amount of gold. Story 4. I do dog sitting. I've had dogs my whole life, and when my most recent one passed away, I didn't really want to commit to owning a new one. It occurred to me that I'm excellent with dogs and have a good house with a big, fully secure yard. I charge $50 per night to have dogs at my house. And honestly, I do it for free because I love dogs. People are happy to pay because they know the quality of care is good. During busier periods when I'm very in demand, I'll put my prices up a bit. I make a few hundred a month. Story 5. Driftwood sales. Taxidermists and reptile enthusiasts have paid my mortgage for the last 2 years. Having access to a small lumber kiln is not something most folks have, so I got lucky there. Thank you, Grandpa. Story 6. Power washing on weekends. I decided to invest in a pressure washer just because I enjoy watching TikToks of those. I decided to try it out myself, and I now make $4,000 a month doing swish swoosh on other people's yards and carpets. Story 7. Selling liquor to minors when I was in college. I was the only one with a fake ID and I had a full beard. Plus, I spoke Hindi to liquor store owners when they could do the same. Story 8. I stopped selling drugs 13 years ago, having been clean for 13 years in California, but I started selling on eBay a few years ago. Now, it's my only source of income and it's successful enough for me to call it life-changing. Story 9. I've had a few experiences worth mentioning. One involves my time working in disability services. I assist locals with navigating the various disability benefit systems, help disabled individuals find jobs, secure housing, and get their lives in order so they can focus on what they need and want to do. I rarely charge much, often providing my services for free, but the demand is high. So, even if they send me $30 to $50 here to write up a helpful plan with resources and a brief summary of the calls they'll be making and what to say, I feel good about it. Plus, it allows me to treat my wife to a nice dinner more frequently. I also help locals set up their home theater systems and other home technology. This is usually quite straightforward, but people are willing to pay me $40 to $50 per hour for my expertise. Sometimes they'll give me some of their old technology like tube TVs and old speakers, or a 6-pack of beer and a small quantity of marijuana. Older hippies are the best clients. They never ask me to explain anything, always provide bonus gifts, pay in cash, and are generous with their time calculations, never complaining about my rates. Their houses are exceptionally clean. Their marijuana is of the highest quality. They avoid inappropriate discussions, never rush me, and always make me feel welcomed and appreciated in their homes. Helping someone build a personal computer runs at a similar rate. I set everything up, include a few free games, and then go home after an enjoyable afternoon of drinking beers and assembling a computer with some extra money in my pocket. Story 10. I used to sing in church choirs for pay. It was not actually a lot of money for me now, but it was about $40 to $50 per hour when I needed it. It's great if you have the skill set to do it and live somewhere where people are willing to pay for it. Story 11. investing in Lego. Over the 10 or so years I've been doing it, I've made about $150,000. You buy multiples, say 10 or so, of sets that are likely to be popular when they retire while they're on sale. Amazon sales are great for this. Sometimes the discounts are close to 30% off the sticker price. When the sets retire, most sets run for about 3 years, you can offload them at a profit. It's normally worth waiting a year or two after they retire, as that's when the in-demand sets rise the most in value. It does mean tying money up in an asset that could be worth nothing, aside from mad respect from children, though. Story 12. When I was a teenager, I used to work at Staples. They had a service where they would set up personal computers for people and assemble their furniture, like office desks and cabinets, for a modest fee. I provided the same service for half the price. Story 13. Selling used clothing, if you know what I mean. Really, there's nothing to it. Just wear what you normally would and find the right buyers. Don't deceive people, and be real. It makes a good side hustle. Story 14. I joke about how I play music to support my habit of waiting tables, but lately, I've been making bank by pressing shirts for local businesses in my off time. I started because I was always let down by other local shirt guys who could never meet a deadline. So, I decided to do it myself, and I'm now getting business from multimillion-dollar companies who want services and deadlines to be met. The method of pressing I use does require a learning curve, but if you're smart enough, it's incredibly lucrative. Story 15. Train AI in your free time. The lowest they pay is $20 per hour, and the highest I've seen so far is $26 per hour, but I'm still fairly new. You don't have to work a full hour either. It's as long as you want, whenever you want, rounded to the nearest minute. Story 16. Instacart and DoorDash. I paid off my car with Instacart before the pay decreased significantly. They used to pay per item picked with good bonuses for heavy items, large orders, etc. Then, after California voters approved Proposition 22, I can average $30 to $33 per hour with DoorDash, just driving around listening to podcasts and audiobooks. Even after taxes, gas, and car wear, I'm still making $22 to $24 per hour in take-home money. I tell my friends who are in need of money that if they have a car, it's an incredibly easy way to earn money. Just track your miles and get a card with good rewards for gas purchases. Story 17. Substitute teaching. I usually pick up a shift on my day off if I'm feeling up to it. Not the greatest pay, but depending on the job, I was able to work on my own schoolwork pretty extensively. Love the flexibility. The work environment is a nice change of pace from my full-time job, and just another thing to add to my resume. Story 18. I started college in 2004. For the most part, almost everyone had a computer in college, but they were still kind of treated like arcane magic devices that only wizards, priests, and nerds were qualified to work on. Fortunately, I was a nerd and knew how to build them and fix them. So for 2 or 3 years in college, that was my income. There were only a few other people at my school doing it, so we pretty much carved up campus like cartels, set up territories and markets. I even managed to get bulk pricing from Newegg and had my own tech help contact that I could call direct at advanced micro devices. And the thing was, it was so easy. 90% of my jobs were just doing a backup and reformat or building a cookie-cutter school computer build that I could slap together between classes. Paid for my first car, lots of alcohol, and even a pretty fun spring break in Miami/Fort Lauderdale. Story 19. Waiting for a politician to say something foolish, which doesn't take long, then creating stickers related to whatever they said and posting them in whichever Facebook group agrees. It's an easy way to make over $500 while just watching TV as I get the stickers made up. Story 20. Reselling stuff I find at thrift stores and garage sales has been pretty good for me. It's crazy how much people will pay for things like vintage clothes or old electronics, and it's fun to hunt for good deals. Plus, I get to keep a lot of the profit since my costs are so low. Story 21. Dog sitting. I needed a sitter and the lady was booked, so I offered to help out if she ever needed it. She sent clients to me left and right, and I made probably like $6,000 from one client alone. It's not for the faint of heart. One of those dogs was the most aggressive dog I'd ever seen. Story 22. DJing weddings. In wedding season, the money is $1,600 per gig, and it's easy for all but the 3 hours the dance floor starts. But you've always got dancing queen and wagon wheel, to get you out of any tight spots. Story 23. Floating shelves require little time on the table saw and a bit of time each morning spraying finish coats. The cost is approximately $100 per foot of shelves, with an additional cost of around $20 per foot for the wood type. Purple Heart is on the upper end because it is so sticky it burns on the bevel. The installation cost per shelf is $100. It's easy to make $1,500 a weekend when business is busy. When I want to make some really quick money, I'll batch out 4 to 5 from a single sheet of nice plywood, stain them, build the mounts, and include all hardware to mount them, and sell them for $300 a piece. Story 24. Not to me personally, but I have seen resume, business writing, and ghostwriting services to be incredibly lucrative to someone I knew. You would utilize Fiverr and several other services. I am happy to guide others to this treasure because I hope it generates someone wealth and also creates more competition inside an otherwise bloated and overcompensated market. Story 25. Sold meal preps locally before companies like Factor were around. Sold meal plans on social media as well. Made good money for the work, but it ended up becoming too time-consuming to be worth it. I never liked social media either and deleted all my accounts, making it impossible. Story 26. Old phones stacked with bandwidth-selling apps, also online surveys. It's not a lot of money by any stretch, but an extra $20, $30, $40 here and there is nice. Story 27. As with anything, how lucrative a venture becomes is directly proportional to how rare the skill is. For me, it's two things: marine upholstery and mechanic work. Especially with the upholstery, very few people know how to do good work with this. If you can do decent work at a reasonable price, it's very easy to make $1,000 a week extra doing a few projects a month. Story 28. This wasn't really super lucrative directly, but it helped me get a promotion. I essentially made spreadsheets and provided technical support for a small roofing and gutter cleaning company. They actually had everything on paper. I got in there and created spreadsheets for work and pretty much eliminated missed jobs. They also needed computers and were getting taken advantage of with what they were being told to buy. They really did not need a graphics processing unit when they had an integrated graphics processing unit, especially when all they needed was Excel. I maybe earned about $500 per year doing it, but I got to put it on my resume, and it helped me move out of my old role. Story 29. Taking online surveys. Selling a niche item that is only available in my husband's home country on eBay. I don't exactly approve of the use of this item. Don't worry, it's legal. But their sale helps feed my family. Story 30. Not so much anymore, but during COVID, I made good money doing handyman work. I lost my job, eventually started doing yard work and fixing things for all the old ladies I knew through family and friends. Mostly yard cleanups, ripped up and replaced a paver walkway on the side of a house, replaced a lot of electrical outlets/switches, reorganized one person's entertainment system, dug a big hole to put a tree in, stuff like that. I made almost as much as my job, only worked 2 to 3 days a week, but no benefits and it was hard on the body. Story 31. Buying computer equipment for very cheap and reselling it has been quite profitable for me. I bought a $600 printer from my employer for $10 and sold it for $400. Additionally, I acquired a few 1-unit and 2-unit servers from a university for $5 each because they said, "We don't know what those are." One server, in particular, was worth $1,200, while the others were easily worth more than $500 each. Story 32. I took online training for software vendors while working at a computer store and received a lot of free stuff. I sold it all on eBay, probably close to $5,000 in total. Story 33. A couple of them. For almost 30 years, I've collected, repaired, restored, and raced vintage and antique snowmobiles. I live in Lower Michigan for context. When I first got started in the mid-1990s, absolutely nobody wanted them. Most of the time, folks would help me load them up for free just to get them out of the yard. I'd do my thing with them, and when the fun was over, I'd sell them or trade them. Over the years, I've owned about 300 of them and have made anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000. I haven't kept track. The secret was not buying them with a plan to flip them. I'd pick up whatever was interesting to me or cheap and go through it like I was going to keep it. Once it was finished, then I'd make the decision on what was a keeper or not. If I did it strictly as a flip, it'd seem too much like work. About 5 years ago, a buddy hired me on to build gas caps for high-end hot rod/custom cars. These weren't the typical plastic caps you find on everyday drivers. They were sandcasted, hand-finished, and polished out of aluminum, stainless steel, and brass. He sold them all over the world, and a lot of them ended up on high-end builds. It wasn't uncommon to sell them to people building cars for the Specialty Equipment Market Association. It was an absolute blast, and I'd still love to be doing it. Unfortunately, he moved, and it's not economical to make the drive to the shop anymore. It was a really fun chapter in my life, though. Story 34. Very few do what I do professionally for the performing arts. My full-time gig I limit to 40 hours, and the rest of the time I spend doing other gigs. I make 3 times my base salary now and pick up other jobs. My standard rate is about $5,000 now.